Hi, this is Michael Orrell from MobileBurn.com, and I have with me today the Blackberry Torch 8910 for AT&T. It is the update of the Torch 9800 that was released last year and is available for $49.99 starting on August 21st. So here we have the Blackberry Torch 9810 itself for AT&T. You can see the AT&T branding down here on the chin. The device is pretty heavy, weighs about 160 grams, and it's not too thin. It's 14.5 millimeters thick. Rim says 14.6. You can see the micro USB connector here on the side for power and data. Slider device, of course. You can see the nice 4-row bold style QWERTY keyboard. Has a really good feel to it. Got a 3.2-inch VGA resolution display that's 480 by 640 pixels. Nice and large, very high resolution for a relatively small size. Hardware controls down here for call send, menu, back, and call end and power. And there's also a D-pad optical controller here. You can see you can navigate around with it. It's actually very good for scrolling through long lists. It's quite fluid in its workings. Touchscreen display, as I mentioned. Let's look at the other edge of the device. We've got volume controls right here, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and this is a convenience key which by default works for the camera shutter button. Unlike the original 9800 for AT&T, this version comes in silver and has a very nice textured rear cover. It's a better looking device in my opinion. 5 megapixel camera which can record 720p HD video, LED flash, and not too much going on, just a bit of a brushed finish here on the back of the slider. You might be able to see a very small little hole there. That's a secondary microphone for noise suppression. Top of the device we've got the lock button as well as a mute button. The mute button can be used in calls, muting music, or inbound ringers, anything like that. Feels really nice in the hand. Feels very much like the original Torch. Does get a little bit top heavy though when you have the slider extended, but it's totally workable in terms of hardware design. In terms of processing power, the Torch 9810 is powered by a 1.2 gigahertz processor, which is pretty speedy with some few exceptions that I'll talk about later. There's 768 megabytes of RAM, which is a full 50% increase over that found in the original 9800, and the processor is actually double in speed, that of the 9800. We've got 8 gigabytes of internal storage, and there's actually a micro SD memory card slot here located right by the SIM card slot. The battery has a 1270 milliamp hour capacity. That's good for about 6 hours of talk time, 2G, 3G, as well as 12 days of standby time. If you look closely in the upper right hand corner of the display, you'll notice the H plus icon, which indicates that this device has HSPA plus capability. Works on 3 different bands, the 850 and 1900 megahertz band supported by AT&T, as well as the 2100 megahertz band used elsewhere in the world. Also quad band GSM Edge support. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi 802.11b, G, and N are also included. So let's take a look at the Blackberry OS 7 home screen. You can see we have the ability to swipe through to different sections, and you can also set the number of rows you want to be seen. When you hit the call end button here in the lower right hand corner, it will automatically go back to the all section, but you can always flip it over to favorites if you like. Up here we have notification area, search, use the on-screen keyboard. A little hard to use from behind a camera here. And you can see it searches through contacts as well as applications. So there's another man, one of the test contacts we have. And actually you can use it with the full keyboard as well. And I could type in browser, for example. If you wish to change ring profiles, you can either tap up here with your finger, since this is of course a touchscreen. You can also navigate using the touchpad controller, the optical controller here. Sometimes a little bit difficult to get to where you want, but it certainly works. And in the center area here we have notifications. I can just tap here to see all the current notifications. See, I've got inbound text messages, calendar appointments, as well as email messages. Those email messages also indicated by the new message notification markers on the icons in the menu as well. This is the main menu. There's really no separate main menu. It's all integrated into the home screen. The All view, of course, shows everything, including folders. So you can see there's folders for things like games. You can individually mark something to show up in favorites. For example, let's go to Help, and if I hit the menu button here, let's see, I can mark it as a favorite, at which point it will automatically show up in the favorites category here. There it is right down at the bottom. I briefly showed you the on-screen keyboard. Of course, the hardware keyboard is much more important on a device like this. It's very much a bold-like keyboard. 4 rows, everything has a nice solid click. Can just start typing to initiate the search. You don't have to actually do it from that icon on the home screen as I showed. You'll also notice some shortcut functions for things like the speakerphone down here when used with the Alt key. As you would expect, there are a lot of shortcuts when you're entering in text. The system intelligently knows when you're entering in an email address or things like that, so you can just hit space instead of having to put the @ symbol in space instead of putting the period or full stop there. It's quite handy. Good feel overall. Give you a little bit better look at the keyboard there. You'll notice that the device will not go into landscape mode while the keyboard is extended, but if you slide it closed, everything works as you would expect in landscape mode. Let's pull up the notifications here and go into this text message so you can see the threaded SMS system. Again, an on-screen keyboard, but much better off using this one. And as I mentioned, I'll just hit the space bar twice to get the period at the end. Send that off. You'll notice the icon called Messages here. That shows a combined view of all your messages on the device, email, text message, and even Twitter and Facebook messages as well. You can see I've got 4 new mentions in Twitter indicated up there in the notification area. Just tap on this to bring up one of the test messages sent to an email account. You can see HTML email. We'll try multi-touch zoom controls. Everything reformats, looks pretty good. Keyboard shortcuts for all sorts of things, common for Blackberry. For example, I just hit R and it'll automatically go into reply mode. There's a lot of different letters you can hit for shortcuts. Drop into contacts here. You can see our test contact list. These are all pulled in from a Gmail account. There's built-in Gmail support in Blackberry OS 7. I just entered in the email account and the password, and it pulled down calendar, contacts, as well as email. No photos come through on the contacts though. The few photos you do see, like Dan right here, actually are coming in through Facebook synchronization. Calendar also seems to be a little bit messed up for Gmail support. Our test calendar was inundated with multiple copies, sometimes 75 copies of individual recurring events, so it really made a mess of our calendar. We're not sure if it was all 3 of the devices doing it, since we're testing 3 different Blackberry OS 7 devices at the same time, but either way it did cause quite a mess and we're a little bit worried about it. Now I'll pull up the calendar here to show you just that. If I go into agenda view, you'll see we have quite a few copies of the same events here. Otherwise the calendar would be quite nice. You can quickly switch between month views and week views and everything like that, and agenda views, but you can see it messes things up with the duplicate copies of everything. You can't actually make out any of the text. I'll jump into the browser here. You can see how that works. When you get to the top of the screen, you get some additional controls. You can see we have multiple windows open here. I can flip over to mobileburn.com, for example. We have multi-touch zooming. Pretty smooth action on the browser. The pages take a little bit longer to load than they should, but once they're loaded they seem to work pretty well. There is no Flash support, but we do have HTML5 support for video, so you can see the YouTube videos on our site are still working. Have run into some problems with the formatting though. We'll see if we can get it to work for you. There we go. Zoom out, everything's still working. Pull up a new page here. This is a Wi-Fi connection. See, this is the mobile version of the website. It's a WebKit compatible browser, so you get nice rounded corners and things like that. You can see it's taken quite a bit of time to finish loading this page, and it's not particularly complex. Do have some ability to move about the page while it's rendering, but the processor seems overly taxed at this point.